This is part 4 of It's Never Your Fault, my story of surviving incest. My body and my mind were in 2 separate places. I was in the room, but I wasn't there. I still had thoughts of, what if I tried to run? What if I just tried to push him off of me? But because of his stature, because of where I was located, because he's an ex-Marine, I didn't know. I didn't know what he was capable of. Because the last thing that I expected was this to happen, that just did. So my biggest defense was to allow it to happen and to wait until it was. However long it took, once he was done doing what he needed to do, he told me to go to the bathroom to clean up. And he whispered into my ear, "Don't ever tell anyone." I had tears in my eyes and I went to the restroom. Part of me was afraid to look at what had been done to me. Part of me was curious because it was my first time. But all of me knew that what just happened was not okay. But now, I have to act like it's okay. And I've got a secret that nobody can know. I wiped up a lot of Vaseline from my body, along with other things that made me feel completely disgusted. And then I had to sleep in that bed next to him, because that's what he told me to do. I don't know how well I slept. I don't even know if I slept. But I know that the next morning, it was as if nothing happened. The amount of physical pain I was in was absolutely excruciating. By this time, a lot of the adrenaline had worn off, and I was hurt. I was hurting. Not only was I physically hurting, but I was hurting from the pain of losing my grandfather and going to his funeral that day. So I had to put on a face, put on my suit, make sure I wasn't walking strange, and get back to my job of being the good kid, taking care of the dogs and not being a problem and helping out when needed and being there for people. That's my job. As if nothing had fucking happened. So we go to the funeral, and I try to stay as far away from him as I possibly can. But that's all I see is his face. His tall self in this light blue suit and these aviator glasses on, with his slicked back hair and this smile on his face, as if nothing had just happened the night before. As if I wasn't traumatized the night before. And you know what? He probably thought I liked it. I often ask myself that. Because I know when this type of thing happens, it's usually a power struggle, or it has very little to do with the actual act. But I wonder, mind you, it's something that I've spoken to my therapist over and my sponsor over. But it's one of those things that I'll never have an answer for. I don't even know if I need an answer for it. It's just a thought. I wonder how someone that I truly loved could do something so hurtful to someone that loved them and move about in the world the very next day as if nothing had happened. It made me feel so gross. It made me feel like this body that I had been protecting, this body that I had been holding out to share with someone. I was not super promiscuous. I kissed a couple of guys. I maybe had a half a boyfriend, whatever. But I was waiting for that moment to share my body with someone that I chose to. But little did I know that that wasn't gonna be my story. So now how am I gonna move through life with this new addition to my novel that I never saw being a part of it? How? How do I do this? Between my personality and the chaos of the funeral, I was able to go under the radar. I was able to be there, but not really be too seen. And I thought that I would just be fine if I got home. Like, I can pretend this never happened, get home to Colorado, and get back to my normal life. I believe I had a couple more days there in Kentucky, and I just had to make it through those couple of days. Much easier said than done. Now, I don't know if many of you remember your first time, but when that happens, we replay that in our mind as much as we can. It was our first time. We've thought a lot about what our first time would be like. We've thought a lot about who we would want our first time to be with. We thought a lot about our first time, especially a 16-year-old gay male. Discovering my sexuality and figuring out where that all fit in the world was something that I was looking forward to. Unfortunately, that innocence of me was taken that day, and it's forever gone. And that is something that I have had to work through every moment since this has happened. So we go to the burial plot, we lay my grandfather to rest, and it's time to wrap it up. Go have those last meals and see those last few family members the next day and get back on the road to Colorado. And I could not wait. You could not get me out of there fast enough. To my parents, I was upset by my grandfather. But now we know what was really going on inside of me. After, I'm gonna say another day or two, mind you, everything between my uncle and I was like nothing had happened. You would not have known anything. You didn't know anything. So we packed up the car. With me looking okay on the outside, but absolutely broken on the inside, and began our road trip back home to Denver, Colorado. And this is where I'll stop.